Hi everyone, welcome back to First Principles. Today we've got Irfan with us and we've been discussing digital design. Hi Irfan, how are you?
Hey Sagar, nice meeting you, man.
Likewise, of course, it's been a while. Irfan, can you give the audience like a quick background about what you do and what your interests are?
All right, so I'm mostly in the field of tech, uh, and I'm the job role I'm playing is mostly into so digital design, digital product designer, right?
Hmm,
And I have 9+ years of experience in creating design for all sort of platforms from
hmm,
mobiles to web, right? And I've been also working in multiple domains,
hmm,
from SaaS to building custom softwares, right? So it's been an interesting journey up to now.
hmm. Okay, interesting. So, you said that it's going to be mobile or web. So I'm assuming all your work is going to be focused on the digital domain, not the physical domain.
Digital. No, no.
Okay, okay.
People do get confused whenever I say that when I'm
Hmm,
a product designer. They say,
hmm.
do you really create products? Do you really design products? I said, no, we don't do that. That's completely different. And we call them industrial product designers,
Okay,
right? So what I do is digital product designers,
okay,
right?
okay.
So we fall into the category of digital product designers.
Okay, okay, okay. So industrial product designers, digital product designers. So let's talk about the categories then. But before that, let's talk about how
Mm.
the categories started. So I'm assuming before
Yeah,
this is product design, and before
yeah,
that is just like the very design in general, design as a form of architecture, design as a form of designing a framework in a business case or a business model or
mm.
whatever, like
Yeah.
organizing a particular organization. So how do you define design? Like in your opinion, at a very basic level, what is a design?
I mean, so there's a famous quote that it says like design is not how it looks like or feels like. Design is how it works, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you might have heard, right? So I believe in that, right? So if if you don't have interface in front of you, right?
Mm, mm.
Uh, how would you interact with the product,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So if the design, I mean, it should be, I mean, it's how it works. End of the day, right?
Okay.
It's not how it looks like or feel like. It should be a valuable asset to the end user, right?
Okay.
And it should be
Okay.
usable.
Okay.
That's what I believe in.
Right. Right. So you said how it works as opposed to how it looks. So I guess
Yeah.
that all right. So that actually answers the question for me because I used to very naively think that design is mostly focused on the aesthetics, right? And of course, aesthetics are important because
Yeah.
aesthetics can elicit a particular emotion in you, which can
Mm.
have a psychological reasoning behind you continuing to use the product, paying top dollar for it or not
Mm.
or whatever, right?
Mm.
But it's also not just the way it looks because a painting is supposed to give you a certain feeling. That's the way it works. But then you're
Yeah.
saying design is how anything works, and you can define
Yeah.
anything as whatever, and how it works is basically its design.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean that's what people want, right? So
Hmm,
I mean, of course, the aesthetic parts are also important, but
hmm.
end of the day, does it serve a value to the user? That's what's
Right.
important,
That's what's important. Right.
right? That's what's
Exactly.
important. If
Right.
the
So
product doesn't not serve a value to the user,
yeah.
right, it's not going to matter whether how it looks or not,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. I
So
mean, it depends.
that's the problem that we should resolve when it comes to product designing.
Right, right. I mean, it depends. If the product, so to speak, is just a piece of digital art, then we only care about how good it looks. But yes,
Yeah,
if it's an app, we need to figure out what the users prioritize. Like they want a good looking app, but they also want an app that works. And what's more
that
important?
works.
So that and sometimes what's more important can change. So we think what's more important is it works rather than the aesthetics. But if you're trying to raise
Yeah,
money or if you're trying to essentially market, then how it looks is going to be, I guess, for a while more important than how it
yeah.
works.
Of course, that's true. That's true.
Hmm.
So it's
Okay.
all about the balance. That's it. It's all about the balance.
Okay. Okay. So now design you said essentially then is like a problem solving method to figure out or design how something is supposed to work. Okay.
Mm.
Um, Okay. So from just the regular design, coming to product design, coming to digital design, Describe a day in your life. What tools do you use? What kind of problems do you generally solve? And it doesn't have to be a day in this job, but generally speaking, what do you think a digital designer deals with every day?
I mean, so it depends from organizations to organizations and on what kind of products they work. For
Hmm.
example, if you take a startup or a software company, right,
Hmm.
a designer, right, would usually work on multiple projects, right, on a software company where they'll be going through multiple client requirements. They will deal with multiple clients, and each clients will have their own specific needs and wants, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll be building digital experiences based on their use cases. But when it comes to
Hmm.
a product company, they just have one product like Facebook, for example, right?
Yeah.
Your job is to resolve the users' problems,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
all the design decisions have been made are all be made using data driven,
Hmm.
right? So you always keep watching what users do or how they interact with your product, and you always need to come up with a solution on how to make their life easier,
Hmm.
right? And it's data driven. It's completely different towards how a startup company works, right? So you need to uh, uh, change your process based on what product you work on, right?
Or what
Like I
objective
said,
you have?
yeah, what objective and goals you're trying to achieve.
So, sorry, you just gave me three examples, right? One was the agency model where you are building the product for someone else and they can claim it's theirs, the white glove service.
Yeah,
The other model
yeah,
is a big tech firm,
tech
which
firm.
probably was a startup at a point, but now it's just a regular money-making
Yeah,
business.
yeah, money
And then,
makers.
of course, okay, and then startup. So I guess the objectives would be when it comes to the agency, you are creating something for someone else. You probably are not going to be involved in the maintenance. You might be, you don't know,
Mm,
but you need to
you
hand
don't know.
over.
Yes.
So the handover model is important. And I guess there, I don't know if like I'm just describing my understanding of these three environments, and then you tell me if I'm incorrect or
Mm,
not. Okay, so in this model, work can be really different because the clients can be really different. Now,
yeah,
the spectrum of difference depends on what all problems your company and your knowledge base is used to handling, but essentially it can be very different. Okay, there can be projects that can be very heavily reliant on UX UI design, something you specialize in,
mm,
and projects that are not reliant on it. On the other hand, you've got the big tech companies that are big. They're mostly focused on maintaining their product, extending the lifeline of their product, introducing new
yeah,
bells and whistles to their product, maybe sunsetting their product and starting new products. But generally, that's not the case because they're mostly bureaucracies now. And then
yeah.
startups are like trying new things, and most of them fail. So, like, have you worked in all these three environments? And
Yes,
you have?
yes, I have worked
Okay,
in all three, all these three.
all three
I
environments.
worked on all these three clients, right? Startups to already established products, right? And also agencies who are dealing with multiple clients.
So explain to the audience your generic process of, let's start with agencies, working with agencies.
Right.
How do you approach your work, your job, when you are working with an agency?
So when you're working with agencies, you'll be working with a specific client, right? And it's usually a short-term project,
Hmm.
right? It's not a long-term project, right? Usually when you're working with agencies, with the clients, they're also always short-term, and they come up with uh, problems like they have a problem, right? And they need a solution for it, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so then we try to propose certain solutions through that will resolve their problem, right?
Okay.
It's just a custom software, right? That is specific to their business, right? And there are clients who comes with an idea, even in agencies, right?
Hmm.
They do come up
Hmm.
with an idea like a SaaS product, right? And they say this is the idea I have, and I just need this to get going,
Hmm.
right? So we will deal with multiple clients, right? They come up with some people they really need of solutions for their businesses. Some might have some crazy ideas that need to test in the market, right? So and things are very fast. in agencies. You cannot take about 6 months or a year to just build an interface. Within 3 to 4 months, you need to just deliver a product to the user or software to the user. That's how it works. It's very fast paced in an agency. But when you come to a startup, right? Working with startups, usually working with startups, it's like you might also deal with them in agencies also. Within agencies, there might be clients who are coming with an idea, and we call them startups, right? So it's the same thing there. But when you're working with an established client or established product, right? Like for example, like Facebook, right? The things are very different there, right? It's very different there because the way they work, they always see how the existing features are working, right? The current features that's already that people are using, how it's it doing? Are people using it? Are there a lot of interactions? How can we improve those features further to make users engage to the keep on engaging to the product, right? And what kind of other products features that we can bring into this product to keep people engaging, right? For example, that they're testing out augmented realities, VR, virtual realities. For example, Facebook is testing out, and they're planning to bring that into Facebook, right, where people can start interacting with other with their friends in virtual reality experience, right? So there might be a team working on that now, which we might not see, but internally they might be working on that and testing it now, right? So a lot of things going on in product company, and most of the things are data driven, right? You cannot just make you cannot just make assumption based designs, right? Just okay, you think no, this is going to work, let's move this button here. No, the way a product company it works is everything's data driven, right? You got to okay, you are moving this button from left to right. Why do you do that? Is there any reason? You're changing the color from black to white. Why are you doing that? Is there any reason? Right? You're changing the fonts. You're moving the elements up and down. Is there any reason? There should be reasons for everything, right? When it comes to a product company, you cannot just make your own design decisions. So that's the difference that I see. And the process on a product company is so huge, right? Nothing feature doesn't go live within a feature, not a product, right? Not a old software, right? It doesn't go. It takes at least 2 to 3 months, or might be a year, right? Sometimes for a feature to go live. That much of effort these guys put into small things when it comes to product company, right?
So
because they do not want their users that they're already the active users and the applications to drop off, right? They need to give a good experience, right? Because when good things are there, people like to use. When some bad things come up, people address those very, very fast, saying that so you should be very careful on those aspects.
So I mean, I'll ask you a tangential question. So like, let's say when Apple got rid of the jack, the 3mm jack. Now I don't know, like we've gotten used to it. I still think it's a bad decision. I was very critical of it when the AirPods first came in. I was like, hey man, if I'm walking, if I tilt my head, they're gonna fall in the sewage. What am I gonna do?
Same.
I still wear them. I mean, you wear them. I'm wearing the big one as well. So I don't know, like sometimes they are forcing a decision because of economics and because the founder has a particular vision, and ultimately it's their company. So if they don't want customers, fine. I mean, I guess that's what they're doing.
What I see these days, since you raised about Apple, right? It has changed the world. When you see back then, right, like 15 years back, we were using this product called Nokia, right? Everyone had a Nokia phone in their hands, right? It has in different sizes and different shapes, and people used to carry them everywhere to show off, kind of thing, right?
Show off Nokia. Oh god, they used to show off Nokia communicator. I remember
right.
that.
And they used to open this phone and then turn the camera up and down. Right, there are different gimmicks going on, right? And we were so excited to own Nokia back then, right? And even they had touch, right? And then suddenly Apple sneaked in to the market, right? And it's thanks to Steve Jobs, it changed the world, right? During that time, he bought smartphones like iPhone, iPods, right? And if we look at the design, it was very simple. The product was very simple design. And the touch was very, very sensitive. The touch. When you compare the touch of the iPhone and the Nokia, sometimes you might have to click double tap on Nokia to certain application to open, right? But when you see when you compare it to iPhone, it's just single tap. It's very smooth. The transitions, even the games that you play on iPhone. I mean, back then, right? You cannot believe that. How come? How did they build this?
Yeah.
And that's where the transition made, right? And everyone started switching to iPhones, and Nokia fell down drastically.
And BlackBerry was big, right?
And BlackBerry, yes,
went away. Yeah.
Went away, right?
Yeah,
this is how a design can change. This is the impact of design that it can do.
Yeah,
right.
I remember 2009. I got like an iPhone 3GS. That was my first phone. It was on a contract. I was in England at that time, and there was a big discussion happening. People were coming in the business school at university. I was at university then, and they were like, they were having this big discussion of like, is BlackBerry gonna be able to compete with Nokia? Is not Nokia, sorry, with Apple, and is iPhone ever going to be a serious business phone? That's the discussion. And I'm like, we don't even think like that anymore. Like iPhone is just a phone. When we say phone, we basically mean a smartphone like an iPhone.
Smartphone, exactly.
Yeah, we have to specify a landline or telephone or like a dumb phone or whatever. So now Apple has changed it so much that our conception of phone has basically changed. A phone is not something that you sometimes used to talk. Phone is something you're always on and doing other things. Interesting. Okay, so this is, I think, a good place to just touch upon the other topic now. The difference between digital product design and industrial product design. What is it?
So it's when you take industrial product design, again, the example would be an Apple product, right? The design of the Mac, the iMac, right? You might have seen previously they had this desktop version of it.
The cube ones. So sorry, the
cubic one, right?
Yeah, very famous in the 90s.
And then they started implementing the slim version of it, right? People, because if you that's the segment, and that's what industrial designers do, right? And they create the product, the physical product that you can touch.
The form factor.
Right? The form factor. Yes.
Okay.
The form factor. What's nice in Apple is, right, which I really like, is that if you see their CPU that they build, the recent one, right? They're not only considering the external layer of the CPU, even the internal layer, if you open it, it's so nice. It's built in a way, that's the job of industrial designer, right? To make it look nice, and it should work.
To make it look nice and it should work. Okay.
It should work.
Okay.
Right. And it should be, and it's very premium too. It looks more premium. Right.
So, here we are discussing Apple, but like the job of an industrial designer is to make sure that the form factor is correct.
Yeah, anything, all the form factors are designed.
Okay.
It should look good. Right. And it should look premium. That's what industrial designer's job is. Right.
It should look premium. Okay.
It should look premium, it should look nice, and it should be eye-catching, right? If something does not eye-catch, people will not buy it, right? These days.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So who designs, let's say, factories, or who designs like a power plant? Or are those also people who are industrial designers?
Might be even vehicles, right? Any form of physical form, right?
Any physical form.
Yeah, that's an industrial designer's job, right?
So,
but you can choose. But within industrial designers, you can be an automobile designer, right? So there are different categories, right?
Right.
On which spot you belong into, right?
Okay.
Because if I am an automobile designer who designs the form, the way the car looks, right? I won't be able to do something like creating, for example, I can do it, right? But I won't be much expert on that. I might be expert on vehicles, but I'm not expert on creating the laptops or smartphones.
Right. You could probably just learn, especially if you're applying the design principles. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So an industrial design would be persons involved in designing products of the industry in the physical world, like within the world of atoms.
Yeah.
Okay. This is good. This is useful. So then what's a fashion designer? What's a textile designer? They're also
So
designing, you know.
yeah, so fashion design, textile design is mostly the way what we wear day in day out, right? So
Okay.
that's their part. But these days,
Okay.
unfortunately, the dresses have been it's the way it's going on nowadays is like you don't see much of a much of a dress on fashion, right? It's just the less
Oh
you wear,
yes.
the look the way it looks nice out. That's
Oh,
not fashion what
actually,
I see.
I actually have a theory there. So there, because I've been around people working in fashion for a while, in different capacities. So yes, I think there is a lot of like bullshittery going on over there.
Yeah.
Yes, sure,
That's a complete different
but
domain, right? Even I don't
yeah,
understand,
yeah,
but that's what
yeah.
they
But
do,
it's
right?
very, 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 very focused on design. But I empathize with them. Every year there are two seasons, I guess, fall, winter, and spring, summer. They
Yeah,
need to come up with not only a new design of some new trench coat or whatever. They need
yeah,
to come
yeah,
up
yeah.
with a new theme. And this one person is original. So what you see on the ramp over there is basically like a very high concept form. Nobody's gonna actually wear that apart from that model who's
Exactly,
walking.
exactly. Yeah.
But but people are gonna look at it and they're
Yeah.
gonna tone it down, and that is what you're gonna find at Primark and Macy's and H&M and all that.
Mm.
So that's what I finally understood. And fashion students made me understand that, because I was like, what the hell is that, man? But I guess you need to speak a certain language to kind of interpret that and make it in such a way that regular Joes and regular Jane can
Yeah,
feel comfortable wearing it.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, true. So that's a complete different domain, which I really don't understand, but that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
fashion
yeah.
designers work,
But it's still
right?
is it's the design is the connecting part. Again,
Yeah,
problem
it's a design.
solving
At the end
is
of
the
the
yeah,
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
yeah. Okay, okay. So then let's come to the domain of the things you can't touch and you can only abstract away, the
yeah,
digital,
that's
right?
where the digital world comes in, right?
Okay. So
So
what
that's
do
where we
there?
are expert in, right?
Okay.
So at first when you take, right, if you go back sometime back, we had only websites, internet, right? We only were people only you only knew the role called web designers, right?
Web designers, yes, yes. The
Yeah,
original
so
websites, the
the
Web
original
1.0. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So we call people who design for digital world is web designers. There is no any
Hmm.
other role,
Yeah.
right? Everyone is a web designer, right? So he creates websites for the internet. And then the turnaround came in, when smartphones came in. Smartphones.
Oh, well, that was a while then, like
When
10, 15
yeah,
years. Okay.
that's what I was saying. Apple made a big
Hmm.
impact to the digital world.
Hmm. Oh, so Apple
When the
essentially
smart
created a profession.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's the thing. That's where everything turned around. When Apple came up with a smartphone where people can browse websites on their end. I mean, they don't have to
Hmm.
on their laptops,
Hmm.
wait till it boot, and wait till they get the internet connection, and then browse something on the internet and make a purchase. Whereas
Yeah.
nowadays people can just use a smartphone and quickly make a purchase something
Yeah.
on the go,
Yeah.
right? And this is where people started thinking, okay, man, we need to focus on the web, the mobile too, not only the web,
Okay.
even the mobile.
Okay.
And this is where we started the roles like UI UX designers came in, UI UX engineers came in, right?
So what is UI UX? Expand on that.
So it's like you create interfaces for both web and mobile,
The
right?
user
It can
interface,
be
user experience, and
you
keeping
say,
the user
yeah.
experience in
So
mind.
that is UI,
Okay.
and the UX is, I mean, I come to UX aspects a
Okay.
bit later.
Yeah.
So web design, and then the UX engineers job emerged, but
Mm,
people really didn't know what UX is, right?
mm,
That's a
mm,
that's a truth fact. But they were
mm,
only focused on UI,
mm,
right? And they were building websites for both web as well as mobile, and everything's optimized, right?
mm,
And even now, even still, there's a huge demand for mobile browsing, right?
mm,
More than web. People do
mm.
tend to use the mobile, mostly the web.
It's
We
cheaper,
can see that from the data.
especially in the developing
It's
world.
it's cheaper, plus it's very fast,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, okay.
I
Faster than
mean,
computers, laptops.
you might just go through a store. You can just go by when you're running or jogging or when you're in the car. You can just browse something, right,
Right,
and make a
right.
purchase. You don't
Mm.
want to open your laptop or go back
Yeah,
home and then make a purchase, right?
yeah. Just for the interest of everybody, folks, if you're driving, please don't open your phone and browse anything. Okay.
That's
Stop the
true.
car and then
That's true.
make a purchase. But yes.
Yeah. So I mean, everything's instant these days, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it emerged. And then after some time, when they started putting much effort into checking uh, what people do, and then the role called UX researcher came in, right? UX
UX
researchers.
research. So they put effort in researching what people do. So UX
Yeah.
researcher,
Yes.
user
Yes.
experience
So
researcher
when
came in. Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
that's a complete different role, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there is web designers at first, and then there is something called UI designers who design interfaces for web and app, and then an image and role came up called UX researchers, where this primary goal is to see the behavior of users, right?
Right.
What they
Right.
like, what they don't like, what colors they like, what colors they don't like, what kind of things they like to see on app, and what kind of things they like to see on web, right?
Hmm.
And collect more data, speak to people, speak to users, go and speak to users, understand, emphasize their feelings, and see what how
Oh,
can yeah.
so it's like this is like market research. It's like in the old days, people used to ask
Of
you about
course, it's
what kind of
something like
soap you
market
like.
research, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's something like market research, but yet that's your job. Go and understand the pain points of the users, understand why are they worried. Sometimes understand their feel. You have to step on their shoes and understand their feelings. Be more emphasized, right? Think from their perspective on how to handle things. By doing these kind of things,
Hmm.
we can build a product that people love,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
And then there's another role that came up called UX copywriter, right?
UX copywriter. Oh, yeah, yeah, that makes
And
sense.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So there's difference between a content writer and a UX copywriter, right?
Okay.
So content
Hmm.
writers are people who write content for the newspapers, magazines, right? And when it comes to UX copywriters, their job is to keep things very short and simple and very
Hmm.
easy to understand. The user should be able, even a lame person should be able to understand what it's trying to say. You can't use
So
huge jargons.
hold on. Copywriting is a very old profession used in
Yeah.
advertising, mostly in writing
Yes.
copy. Like in
Yes.
like
Yes.
okay.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that this got sort of like a new form in UX as well. And
Yes.
who is it intended
Because
for? Users, just
so
regular users.
it's regular users,
Okay.
but when it comes to digital, people
Yeah.
do come. Their main idea is they come to a website for a purpose,
Yeah.
right? For
Yeah.
example, you go to eBay or you go to Amazon for a purpose to buy something,
Yeah.
right? Not to read about something, right?
Right. I mean,
So
depending on like New York Times to read
depending on
about
yeah,
something.
depending on something
Yeah.
else, yes.
Yeah.
But things
Yeah.
need to be kept simple. For example, if
Yeah.
you go to Apple website, for example,
Mm,
right,
mm,
you don't see
mm.
huge content. It's always
No.
images and just
Yeah.
one line text
Yeah.
that tells you the story of this product, right?
Sometimes it tells me that they're hiding something. I don't know why. I get a feeling that
might
they're
be,
hiding
might be,
something.
might be. But again, it's
Yeah.
talent of a
Yeah.
UX writer, right? Again, it's a talent.
Okay.
That's another talent. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So you
So
got to keep things.
what goes on the website is also a profession. It's not
Yeah.
just the design,
Yes.
but the
Yes.
words.
Exactly. What
Interesting.
goes That's another. So big companies like even Facebook or the other big companies, you have dedicated roles: UX research, UX writer, and then UX architecture. There are different people out there, different roles who are playing in this field, right?
I think I can be a UX copywriter if a company is
Yeah,
listening. Hey man, I'm up for it. Hire me.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
sure.
what is a UX architecture thing? What's that?
So this is something like a person who starts laying out how the flow should work. For
Should work.
example, I'm just giving an example. Okay, a simple
Right.
example would be from the
Right.
time you see a product and
Hmm.
you like a product and till the checkout,
Hmm.
till you check out the flow,
Hmm.
right? This is just one example.
Hmm.
So this is his job, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there are other complex flows too. So this is an easy flow to you understand. The entire
Okay.
roadmap, the entire architecture of the website. Where should this section be? Where should this section be in the website? And where
Yeah.
should this section be on this website? Right?
Yeah.
So that's what he plans.
So Irfan, I have a few clarifying questions if you don't mind. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's spend some time on this. So hmm, what I'm worried about is how do I put this? Like let me think about it. Let me think about it. You know how people say that architecture influences your mood, and we see
Yeah,
that because
true, true.
aesthetics, but it's not just aesthetics, right? It's like, let's say you in a culture you value privacy, and in
Mhm.
that culture you have rooms that don't have a corridor. You have houses with rooms
Yeah,
without a corridor. you have to go from one room to the other via some other room, violating
Yeah.
somebody's privacy.
Yeah.
Now, a culture that doesn't have a concept of privacy will not think it's a bad thing, and they'll just keep making these
Yeah.
things. And of course, it depends on things. So, like these kind of houses were found in Delhi just after the aftermath of the partition of Punjab, right? A lot of
Mm.
refugees had come in. So I don't know if the culture valued privacy or not. I don't know, but like sometimes there are trade-offs that needs to be made. Okay, but if I grow up in this kind of a household, I probably will not value privacy. And if I do value privacy, because
Yeah.
everybody has some aspect of it, that's why we at
Yeah.
least toilets are closed off.
Yeah.
So if you value privacy, then it's going to be very bad for you. You will not be you wouldn't like it over there. And it's not just like an app, right? This is a physical space, so it's difficult to build. We don't have technologies to just print out a house as of now and just
Yeah.
print out land
Yeah.
to print it on. It's a very long way to say. I'm just trying to establish something. So just bear with me, you and the audience. Okay, so that is somebody made a decision, and the users, they need to just adjust their behavior to the service providers whatever options. On the other hand, the service provider is working very hard to incorporate, you know, research the users, research the way they interact with the app, interact with life and all of those things, with the
Mm.
intention of getting most number of people, whatever. Now my question is, at what point do you take a decision? At what, because there is all, like, you are researching human beings, you're not
Mm.
researching like laws of nature, so you're not going to get a very good generic trait statements which is true in every case. There's going to be exceptions because there's more chaos, individual agents, you can't really have that. At what point do you stop? Are there heuristics built, or like how do you know that you have enough information? Now let's move on.
I mean, we don't wait till we get all the data that's necessary to make a decision, right?
Okay.
I mean, we do test out things, and we really don't know how things. We just test out things and see how people interact, how people are liking those, right? And based on that, we keep moving things up and down,
Hmm.
right? So it's not a one-way thing that this is how the framework should be, right? So because you don't know how people are. There are different sort of people, right, with different sort of needs and wants, and the way the user behavior is completely different. It's not like what we think, right? So there is a certain theory that we should follow, right? On top of that, everything is based on data, right?
What is
That's
the
what I can
theory?
say.
What is the theory? Because I'm concerned whenever we talk about the word theory outside hard sciences, essentially it's somebody's opinion, which is not really verified. So we should call it a heuristic or something like that. But like, okay, what
So
is the theory that you
so
follow?
yeah, so we as a UX designer, we have certain laws, right, that we follow, right? UX
Yeah,
laws, right, that we follow.
laws.
That
Okay.
yeah, so there are lots of different types of laws, right? That the design should look this way, and the buttons should be kept in this way, right? And there are
And
so
why?
we do tend to,
Why do those laws exist?
because
Do they
those
have any
laws,
basis in truth?
yeah, this laws over also backed with data, right? Nothing fell from the sky, right? Nothing from all those laws were backed up with data. So we do not have to go again from start from zero again, because
Yeah, you
everything was
don't
backed with
reinvent the
data. And
wheel.
this, yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel again. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So these all these
Sometimes,
laws were also,
sometimes you might
sometimes
have to
we
reinvent the wheel.
sometimes we might have to go to that extent where we'll have to try out something very new, right? But chances are less, right? So we do follow those laws, right? And we try our best. I mean, with the data we have, right, to build a product that people love. That's the
Hmm.
whole purpose of a digital product design.
Build something that people love. So any aspect of design, and specifically user experience and interface design, will have a lot to do with the human psychology, generic
Yeah,
human
yeah,
psychology,
yes,
right? Now, if you're
yes,
building it for one person, I guess that person's psychology. But generally, like, everybody, what most people, if you're building a mass market product, what most people will like. I guess if you're building a product which is very focused on a particular community, whether it's a class community, caste community, or whatever, some kind of a language community, then you need to research their idiosyncrasies more than just what the human universals are. Is that correct? Like, how much cultural research is required in this work?
So it depends on the vision of that product, right? So for example, if you're building, for example, currently I'm working for a big real estate product company, right? Their end users are completely into real estate market, right? So we should use jargons and elements that the what the real estate market understands, right? That's our end users, right?
Okay.
For example,
we should
for
use it
people who
in your product, in the product.
Yeah, in the product, right? So, for example, would say if it's a real estate market, we know our end users would be investors and people who there's one of the users, right? So we should have jargons and things that the investors understand, right? So we should come up with certain things that they don't understand. If they don't understand, I mean, they're not going to use the product, right? So that would be a good example there. So it depends on the product and the vision and what kind of problem they're resolving, right? For example, another example would be if you're building a SaaS product for a vet clinic, right? A vet where you bring pets, right? So you should have jargons and things that an end user will understand when it comes to ISO pets, right? Certain things that they will understand. So if you use different jargons, like different bigger names, so they might not understand. They might not come to your website. They might go to another website, right? So it depends which product and what your target audience are.
I want to take like a side track and build on something, because I'm really trying to understand it over here. So industrial designers will design the products coming from the industry. Aeronautical designers are going to design airplanes. Automobile designers are going to design good automobiles. I guess all of these people's focus, and again, architects are going to design our buildings, whatever. All of these people's focus is on the integrity of their craft, which means will the structure hold? So a structural designer will think that, and then an airplane designer will think, will this fly? And the engine designer will think, will this really hold the load? Automobile designer will think, whatever the car is trying to do, will it do it? If you introduce a user experience designer in the team in all of these fields, like again, an engineer, a developer will think about how to write code. So I think maybe the user experience design field came by just because of the recognition by the industry or whoever were the founders that if we can be excellent, but if users don't keep using us, we'll be dead. So you think user experience design is not just related to the digital world, it's also related to the physical world, and those insights can be
everything. Yes, it's not just the digital experience, it's also industrial and, like you said, other roles also. Because no point you're designing a product if people are not able to use. Like I said, a good example would be Nokia phone. This was huge back then. I wasn't able to put that in my pocket, right?
Yeah.
So when the iPhone came in, when the Apple product came in, it was very easily, I was able to put that in my. So people look in those aspects later, right? Usability of it, right? If the product is not usable, they will not. How expensive it is, they will not get it. Right? It should be usable and
Yeah. So I guess founders who are specialists in various fields design a solution which could be like a blueprint of a car, of an airplane, or whatever. And sure, but I guess I'm just trying to understand the reason for existence of user experience design specifically, because one assumes that user experience is at the bedrock of all design. So why do you need user experience specially? Because I guess there probably was a need where people are not paying attention to how you're using it.
No, I would agree with that again. What you're trying to say. Back then, when people did not care about UX, right? And people were looking for job roles and people who are focused on UX, right? But now, right, this is something that I would like to say. When it comes to everyone who is working in the roles, we can be a developer or a UI engineer or a product designer, even a product manager, whatever it is, they all should think about UX.
All should think of UX.
It's not only a responsibility of the UI engineer, it's a responsibility of the entire team. even the QA, even the developer, even the PM, even the UI engineer, right? It's everyone's responsibility. It's not one person's responsibility. Each one plays a different role when it comes to UX, right? That's how UX has been very important. You cannot put away UX and build a product. It's going to fail. It's going to fail for sure.
Yeah, like the 737 Maxes, where well, the software, they didn't even tell the pilots that, hey, we have this correction mechanism. Oh boy, yeah. Well, I mean, and that was a software glitch, which we tend to think of software in a very frivolous term, but software can, like bankrupt you or kill you in a very literal way. It can throw you off a sky. So yeah, well, that's interesting. Now, if the product, so to speak, is not there for massive use in the market by common people, so like it's not an app, it's not a website accessible to common people. If the product is used for a very specific niche audience or a professional audience, in my experience, I've seen products marketed to professional audiences. They don't care about the aesthetics. It's horrible. If you have a look at it, it's like, yeah, whatever. But then products marketed to regular people, oh my God, they go crazy on the aesthetics. Do you work differently if your customer is not the common
I don't
average user?
believe in that.
Okay.
I don't believe in that. No.
Good.
If you take, for example, like you mentioned, if you're building a product for professional users, for example, would be Slack. If you use Slack, right?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we need the job to get done, right? But the way they put the things out, it makes life easier for a professional person to organize things, right? If it's not built in a way, right, and if you cannot organize things, right, of course, I mean, you won't be able to manage your day-to-day work, right? So I would say it's not about whether it's a professional or it's a normal user, right? Everybody needs a working product that they can use, and it should look nice in aesthetics wise. It should also be usable. It should be UX friendly. Everything should be there, because these days. Because if, for example, if you say, okay, fine, if you say Slack is a monopoly, right?
What's a monopoly?
Slack. The Slack
is a monopoly, right?
If it's a monopoly, if it's a monopoly, and if there's no competitors, that can work. That can what you're saying is can work, because people don't have any other products to go to. They just have to stick to this one platform, right? But when another product comes in, for example, Microsoft Teams comes in, now they have a big competitor to fight with, right? So they will always try to compete with them, try to do something good to the end users, right?
Well, I don't like Slack. I don't know what's about it. Like I've every time I've tried to like it. Everybody around me likes it. They talk about it. One of my companies moved from I guess they had Skype at that time, and they moved to Slack.
Oh, Skype, like, Skype, yes.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It's this frog, this clown, which is constantly. Beep, 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 beep. I'm like, I can't work with you on. I'm like, fuck off, right? MS Teams, on the other hand, even with that very infamous like ringing sound, tung 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 tung.
Nice.
Even with
that's nice. Yeah,
it's an aesthetic thing. Yeah, I mean, it's just sleek for me. It doesn't disturb me that much. I can tell it to shut up, and it shuts up. I'll tell you what I feel. I feel like, okay, all of these are tools. They're supposed to serve me, not the other way around, right?
Yeah.
So MS Teams, I associate MS Teams as a good, well-trained chauffeur, right? A well-trained chauffeur. And on the other hand, Slack is like this annoying hipster Uber driver who won't shut up. Like, part of your job as a driver is to navigate and shut up and understand who all are there in your particular car as well. Because it's not just your car. I mean, you're making money through it. So, so I don't know. I'm not a fan of Slack.
That's fine. Even so, there are lots of ups and downs. People also say Microsoft Teams is good, Slack is good. So see, there is two products here. Both are fighting here, right? Both are fighting here to do their best. What if if there's only Microsoft Teams, there is no Slack? You won't get this experience. What you're speaking now, right? They will keep. They know that Saagar has no any other option. He has to stick with me. So whatever I throw at him, he's going to use it, right? So,
true that, but like on a very tangential level, again, Irfan, and I know I'm spending some time here, but I'm interested. I think these examples can help. I don't know on a very fundamental level, how is Slack any different from Yahoo Messenger and MSN Messenger back in the day? Why are we still working on messaging apps? Like, I don't know.
True.
What
I agree.
is there? Is there a difference? Is there a difference? Do you think there's a difference between Yahoo Messenger and Slack?
I don't see a difference. Everything has a message in it, right? But but
I
when it
think
comes
Yahoo was
to a big,
better. You can meet strangers there. I
yeah,
mean,
that was better.
you know,
But what I see is, but when it comes to a huge team, when you're working
mm,
with a huge team, right? When you have huge departments, right, and you want to get instant calls and everything, and you want to keep things. Uh, Slack has improved a lot
mm,
from that aspects, right?
mm,
Even it's been almost 2 or 3 years. I have stopped using Microsoft Teams. I don't know how it's now, right?
mm.
But what I see is that the weight of the tool, Microsoft Teams, is too much. The
Weight of the
time it takes
tool.
to load,
Oh, right, right,
right?
right, 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 right,
When
right.
compared to Slack, right?
Mm,
That's the
mm.
only drawback I see. Other than that, I don't see a big drawback. Everyone, both of them, they are their own design language, right? And they have their own way of putting this feature. It's the same feature you see in both the applications, but they are their own way of putting it to the user,
You
right?
said something. You said something which will now prevent me from reading the Wikipedia article any further, and I have to double click. So let's talk
Yeah,
about two things. Let's talk
yeah.
about what is design language, and second, what is design thinking.
So design language is all about if you take a design language, it's about if you take Facebook for example, right?
Hmm.
They have a certain language that when you go to a different pages, you know this is Facebook. If you see this button, okay, you know this is Facebook,
So it's
right?
like branding. It's
Uh,
like a consistent branding
it's
in a
something
way.
like branding, something to do with the
Okay.
branding, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like
So why don't they just use
you.
branding? Why use a fancy new term called design language? Let's just say branding. We get it.
I mean,
Like
no,
everybody gets it.
it's not only about colors, or it's not about only colors, right? Or
Oh,
the logo here, right? There are other elements when it comes to design language, right?
what
The way
elements?
the pictures look. For example, within Facebook, the profile picture is a circular thing now, right? So I mean, that's one of the things, right? And then the way the interactions work on Facebook, right? The entire language is consistent throughout the product, right? So it's
So
very
even
easy
that
for me to
will need to be
understand.
designed. Even you will need to
Yeah.
design a design
That's the
language
thing.
as
Yeah.
well. Okay.
Yes. So you cannot have two different languages running on one product. So people will get lost, right? They'll see, okay, what
Unless
I'm doing,
that's your
right? This
intention. I mean, let's say there's an
unless,
app like for like gay people and straight people, and then you can have two different design
but
languages.
yet you can keep in one language, right? Uh,
Unless you want to make it separate. Like this is we are the same company, but we
yeah.
also
So
cater
that's
to the.
yeah. Unless
Okay.
otherwise you need to segregate both
Ah,
the communities here. That's up to
okay.
you.
Right.
But yet you can keep in one language here, right?
Okay.
So
Okay. So
that
essentially,
is not. Yeah.
it's a way to tell the customer that don't worry, you're not speaking to a schizophrenic. This product is like one person you're speaking to. They're
Yeah.
consistent enough, like a normal human being is consistent
Yeah.
enough in a conversation.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
people change. Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what
and for,
consistency
and
is.
also the emojis when you see in Facebook, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
also a different language. When you see the emojis on Facebook compared to the emojis that you see on where on Slack or on Teams or on
Oh,
Skype, it's completely different, right? So when you
so
see this
how do they?
emoji,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
So if you see this emoji, you can clearly tell, okay, this emoji is from Facebook,
Right, right,
right?
right, right,
And a good example would be LinkedIn. If you look at their
right,
emojis and
right,
Facebook emojis, it's two different things. So when I see
right,
the emoji that's on LinkedIn, I know it's LinkedIn. It's
right,
it's
right.
very clear, right? Because I
What do
have
you think?
learned it. I have learned that language because I've
You
been
have learned
using
that
LinkedIn for some
language,
time,
right?
right?
I'm just curious what happens on a technical level. So, like, a smiley emoji is generally like a colon and a bracket, right? Like, so shift
Yeah.
plus zero. Um,
Yes.
now you do the same thing for creating an emoji on iMessage, on Facebook, on Slack.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there a difference when they have a new design language? Do they essentially, because there's these symbols are supposed to be Unicode, they're supposed to be like standard everywhere. So do they interface something else that their smiley appears different from Facebook's smiley or whatever? How does that work on a technical level?
Uh,
Do you know?
I mean, people do tend to. I mean, when it comes to LinkedIn, right?
Mm.
You can ask this question. Okay, why can't they use the same emojis like Facebook is using? Why did they introduce
Mm.
something completely new,
It's more
right?
professional, I guess. It's more toned
Which
down.
more exactly, which more
Yeah, yeah,
professional
yeah.
when the
Mm.
audience is more professional, right? So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want to have those emojis in a professional looking way, right?
Mm.
In compared to Facebook, but Facebook is completely different. It's more for social world, right? It's targeted towards all the community, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on the end users, and you might even see in certain other platforms like vet SaaS vet platforms, right, towards pets, right? They use emojis of pets
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because the audience are people who like pets,
Yeah.
right? So it's all about the audience.
It's all about the audience. But if I'm wondering, okay, so next question. What is design language? Oh,
I think
sorry, design thinking. What's design
design
thinking?
thinking is a process, right?
Is a process.
Design
What
thinking is a
explain the
process. It's
process?
nothing to do with
All
the
right.
language, right? It's all
Okay.
about how you come up with an idea, how do you emphasize an idea, how do you start taking it to the next step of how do you uh, create prototypes, how do you test it out? That's a process, right?
Can you
There's something
explain
called
the
design
process
sprint.
again?
There's something called design sprint, and there's
Right.
something called design thinking.
Right.
Let me just quickly summarize that on to you. So it's like I said, it has different processes, right? From idea, how do you go to market, right? How do
From
you?
idea how to go to market. Okay.
So that it's not a design thinking. There's something called design sprint. There's design thinking, and there's a I can't remember. So these are the two famous ones, right? So different companies do adapt to one process, right? But what I believe, right? It's not about the process. It's all about. I mean, I don't say the companies I have worked, right? They don't follow a process, right? They
Mm-hmm. Want the
they
outcome.
just want the outcome here, right? But it's they just see the outcome and how did you come to this outcome, right? It's data driven, right? So because people don't want to invest a lot of time on these processes, they
No,
quickly
I
need to
mean,
put it out.
I mean, if you're a startup, you're trying to establish something. So spending all that
Yeah,
time on your process is stupid because the whole
yeah,
point of a process is you are assuming this thing is going to be sustainable. You are assuming
yes,
there's going to be demand for it, right?
yes,
So first you need to establish that there will be demand for it, and then you invest
yeah,
in processes. So yeah, that's a good. But like you do it before, it's not. Yeah.
true.
Okay. Okay. So design thinking is essentially a framework, a process to think. I do want to get somebody on who can speak more, like, because I know design thinking is not just used for like making just design, like, creative things. It's used for problem solving in like business and other things as well.
I
So
mean,
I
it's very simple. Like you emphasize, you
hmm,
identify a gap in the market,
okay.
right?
Hmm,
That's how design thinking works. Is you just emphasize on something, you identify a gap in the market, and then you start defining the goals for it, identify the pinpoints for it, right? And then the user needs and wants, and then you start ideating certain ideas, creating maybe uh, uh, brainstorming some ideas on how what kind of solution might work, and then you
hmm,
choose the right solution. Then you jump into creating a prototype,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
And
hmm,
then
hmm.
testing out with the users, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then again you start iterating, and
Right,
again you start
right.
emphasizing, and that's a process,
So
right?
I
It's
think
nothing.
the point of design thinking is, of course, so one is to get some madness to the process, because again, folks working when they're working so close to chaos, they might get burnt, and then they sometimes lose their marbles. So creative folks are sometimes unstable, but it's to introduce certain stability when it comes to that chaos of trying to get something new, because it's hard work. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
also maybe focusing on if all of the quest that you're going on, the heroic quest that you went on, is it like, are the users even interested? So I guess they keep taking the feedback of the users while they're going through a process. Okay, but then there is a certain philosophy behind this design thinking, which might not be correct. It might not be true. The philosophy here is the user knows what the user wants. Sometimes, on the like other hand, I love to use this example like wherever I can. Henry Ford, who created the Model T, the assembly line, the first mass market car, then
yeah,
if
yeah,
I asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse.
yeah,
So my question is, when do you like be like, hey, the users are saying they want this, but this is my company. I'm making a decision that I don't think this is what they want. I'm interpreting that to be this, and this is what we'll give. How do you do that? Because I
yeah.
think that's also important, right?
I mean, of course, you have your own idea, right? And you know, this is what I want to deliver, right? So at a point, end of the day, you need your product to grow, and you want people to use your product, right? You cannot always assume things, and you always cannot just do what you think it's best for you, right? You got to, at a point, you have to put the product out and see what users like from this product, right? Might be something that
You
you
are,
like, might be something that you
good.
like, they might not like it, right? So if they don't like
Oh,
it,
oh, interesting. So you are testing their, you are researching their behavior rather than what they're saying,
yes,
because that can be something
we
else.
we
Right,
saying,
right,
people
right.
can say a lot of things. People can say a lot of
Hmm.
things, right? Your product is
Hmm.
bad, but what we see is, it's not about what they say. What are they
Yeah.
doing,
What are
right?
they doing?
That
Reveal
insights is very important.
preferences.
Yeah. So because
Right.
based on that, we can build a solution that they might like.
Hmm. In your opinion, Irfan, how much has design taken concepts and theories from anthropology, sociology, psychology? Because ultimately we are doing all of this for human beings, for people, and they have a certain module in them. So do you read
Yes.
these subjects? Do you keep abreast with them
I
to
mean,
come up with?
it's what I believe is it's all uh, at first it's all about assumptions, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And also, like, I usually emphasize myself, right,
Hmm.
when I'm designing a product, right? That's how I've been working this since years, right?
Hmm.
I'll always start emphasizing from the end user's perspective when I'm designing something,
Okay.
right? Usually when
Right.
I'm designing for a startup,
Right.
when they tell me
Right.
their problem, when they
Hmm.
tell me their vision and their business goals and everything, right?
Hmm.
And what their users need and everything. So I'll start emphasizing from the users' needs, and now I know I'll build something that they might like, right?
You're describing that, and I'm just imagining some architect or some space designer
Yeah,
who is
yeah,
basically designing a prison from the prisoner's perspective and figuring out what they
exactly,
like. Yeah.
exactly. So that's a good point, right? So if
It's a
someone
good
asks
point.
me to design
Okay.
architect something for a prison, like a prison kind of building, right? As a prison, I will think, okay, I might escape from here. Let me put a blocker from here, right? No, exactly. That's how it is. So we start
Okay.
emphasizing things at first from a user perspective, and we start designing, but it's not going to work. We can't say that, no, this is the right outcome. This is going to work for sure. No, no, no. There are chances that might not fail, right?
Hmm.
So, but that would be the first step. That's
Hmm.
the first step.
Hmm.
There should be something that we can test it out,
Right.
right? So
Right.
you should have that kind of empathy. If you don't have the empathy, or if you can't
Hmm.
emphasize your end users, I don't think this role is for you.
Hmm.
You cannot you
Okay.
cannot be a you cannot be a product designer or a UI UX engineer or UX designer, whatever it is. Recall,
If you don't have empathy.
if you don't you can't if you don't have empathy, and if you can't see the feelings of the users, understand the feeling of the users, right? Or if you can't just reflect from their selves, you cannot be a product. This role is not for you.
So because ultimately you are solving their problem and asking them to
Yeah,
pay you.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that's empathy is an important thing for a designer. If you
I.
don't have empathy,
Hmm.
no, this is not a job role for you.
The reason I'm a little unwilling to sort of just take on the user perspective is because what tends to happen is accountability gets moved. So, at the end of the day, man, it is a creative call you're going to take. You don't know if it's going to work or
Yeah.
not, right? So, users reveal preferences, and again, the way you are designing the experiments, it
Mm.
also gets meta because maybe you design the experiments in a biased way. Maybe you need training to design the experiments properly in the first place. You are studying people, you're not studying physical phenomena. There's going to be more chaos. What I'm saying is the information that you're getting might not be actually true and might not be enduringly true. It might not be that it's
Mm.
going to be the case
Mm.
forever or for whatever lifetime of your product is. You still will have to go with your gut, and if you're a spiritual person and if you believe you discover ideas and they come from somewhere, and if you really resonate with it, you still have to go with it, even if everything, like the data and whatever else is saying, whatever the hell it is saying.
Yeah,
Because
that's the challenge that we face day in day out. Yeah, we have to balance the user needs plus the business needs, right? We cannot we cannot put the business needs down and just focus on your users, because when you start
yeah.
focusing on your users, the business loses, then there's
Yeah.
loss there, right? So
Yeah.
that's a challenge that we face. We got to balance this both. We need
Now, how
to
do you
give good
balance it?
product to the users. So I mean, first of all, we should understand what's the value that the business is going to get from this product. That's number one, right? Every feature that we put it out, we should know what's the value that the business is going to get from this feature, right? If you do not have that, you will not know how to make this feature nice for the user, right?
Yeah.
Or you will not know the technique to make them pay or get the money from their pockets, right? You should understand the business need first before you jump into the usernames, right? And then you can build a product in a way that you can take the user from A to Z, right? Right. That's how it is. So sometimes you might have to even compromise in certain things, when it comes to users, because of the business, because you're focused on the business, right? So you need to compromise certain UX or some kind of things that's a challenge that we have, right? We need to compromise. Sometimes you might think that you cannot have, for example, a good example would be if you have lesser form elements, people tend to fill the form very fast, right?
Yes.
Like if you have lesser forms, people tend to finish the form very fast.
Like
But
4
there
questions,
is a
2
time,
questions.
yeah, a few questions, but there is a point where it comes where the business might need other questions too. That they need that information too.
They try to cheat the system by getting multiple pages, and then the user gets annoyed. So you tell the user that, hey, only 3 more pages left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So we introduce certain gimmicks and elements to keep the people going, right? We keep because we know that people do not like this. If you put everything to their face at one shot, right? They will quickly browse. Oh, this is too much for me. I'm not going to fill it. But when you put it in a way, hi, how are you? How are you doing? Hi, good morning. Hi, Irfan. We need this information in a nice UX copywriting way. Put some nice text. Make him happy. Get the first text. Next text. Keep on going. Or you introduce social media logging, social media sign up. Like get the basic information at first, and then get the remaining information that is important for the business. So these kind of logics we can play around, but for that we need to know the business goal too at first. Without knowing that, we can.
This could be on a very simple level. So, for example, if I need to get, like, if I have a business, if I need to, let's say, consulting business, and I need more people on my mailing list, but I need to give them something valuable, so I create a book or something, and I try to gather their details. So the way I communicate it to them, and that they willingly give me their phone numbers and their email addresses for this free thing, so how do you, in a visual way, and also not just visual way, because I think people tend to overthink design as visual. I don't think it's only visual, it's also tactile.
It's not visual. It's not visual,
right?
It's not visual. Is the basics. It's very basic. You should have that. It's not that you shouldn't have it, you should have it. When a person lands into a page, they should feel confident that, okay, I'm landing to a professional site. You should gain the trust.
Right.
If you have a website with too many colors and too many things going on and advertisements and all the gimmicks, the trust is gone. You see, this is a website.
Here. So that's the thing. Okay, so my initial hypothesis was that design is based ultimately on human psychology. And then from there, emergent phenomena when humans interact, so human physiology, and of course, all the laws of nature. But it's also more ephemeral than that. It's also in the sense that it's also culture. So, for example, if in the 1850s, you did not use that classic English font, you probably won't be taken seriously. If you were a lawyer and all that.
Agreed.
Right.
So times New Romans.
Times change, culture change, right? So yeah. I mean, not only Times New Roman, not only that, the really ornate ones, those fonts that you can't even read. You're like, what the hell is this, right? Is this V, or like, what the hell is this? Like the calligraphy. But now, if you use that, if you don't use the Google font, you'll be like, man, stop being an ass, right? You just say what you have to say.
True.
So you need to keep that as zeitgeist in mind as well.
So, of course, for a designer, the most important thing is continuous learning, and they should keep up with the trend. They cannot just be on that old school trend like 80s and 90s. You cannot just be there. That's another challenge that we're facing. We should continuously learn, continuously get inspired from all the applications that are coming in the market. What are they trying to do new? right? And what is the computers are doing, what is nice nowadays, what people like these days. Based on that, we start building the products. So people are engaged towards it, right?
Yeah. Do you have an explanation on why every major digital app was at one point it had a 3D rendering, like if you looked on your phone, and now everything is simple and minimalist? Like, why is that? Why is everybody suddenly a minimalist now? They don't like
But
ornamentation.
that was some time back, but I think they're going back again to 3D.
So it's just a
Right?
moving trend. It's just a
It's just a
preference. They
moving trend.
want.
It's a moving trend.
Oh
It's a moving trend,
boy.
right?
So
It's a
how do you
moving
how
trend.
do you how do you set? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
So it's if you see last year, people were most into flat design. That's what you're saying, flat design, right? People love flat and people like minimal design. They didn't want a lot of things, right? But now people are going towards 3D, right? And making things more for more eye contrast. The website should have a lot of contrast, 3D gimmicks kind of thing, animations popping up every year and year. So they need these kind of things going on, right? They don't want the static plain websites. They need animations going on now, right? And so it might be today, it might be outdated. Next day, it might be again trendy, right? So it keeps on changing, right? So we got to adapt to this, right? And people do even introduce certain things down the line when we really don't know whether things work or not, right? So that's a challenge that designers have. So we got to keep up to date with the design and what
But
people like and not.
how do you distinguish between, let's say, okay, so obviously you cannot just learn everything from first principles. That's
No,
just
you
going to
can't
take
do
too
that.
much time,
No,
right?
no.
Also, you have to understand that design is essentially a field related to interacting with humans. Humans are complicated. Some things are predetermined, some things are not predetermined
Yeah,
with us. It's not like laws of nature. So it's complex
yeah,
creatures. The prediction is going to be hard. The models that you construct are going to be hard. So you have to understand design is not an exact science. It's also heuristics and art and rules of thumb. Some things work, but you have to, like those rules of thumbs might not work sometimes. It's not an exact
yeah.
like a law. Okay. Apart from that, you probably learn through osmosis or through formal training that these are fundamental truths that you never forget. These are principles. These are laws, and these are trends that you experiment with. Okay.
Yeah.
So you start learning. You start your profession starts, your practice starts, you start getting experience, whatever, and then you discover something else. You discover something else coming. So some of the new style, some new style coming in. Now, how do you uh, make a valid, not a valid? How do you make a educated guess? Make an educated guess whether this new style is going to be merely a trend, which is going to ebb and flow, come and go and come and go, or whether you've just discovered a new classic which is here to stay.
I mean, that's a good question that you asked. So recently, when I was working, right? I will, it's a real example. When I was working in my company, right?
Hmm.
So there was a time where, I mean, it's I usually like to try new things out, right? I don't want to keep things like the old school way. I like to try out things, to experiment things, right? So that something new that new, it's like a new innovation, right? So that's why I believe in, right? So there was a point where I introduced something like where the user will have to switch between two portals on a given application, right?
Mm.
Or you
Mm.
can say two different accounts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the easiest way to do that would be just to click your the icon of your account or and switch the account, the
Mm.
drop down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or switch it, right? Or just a plain. That's the easiest thing to do.
yeah.
But what I introduced is what I started introducing something is this is not something I introduced. Is something that was I got inspired from Instagram, right?
From?
But but lot of people didn't know this feature.
Right,
A lot of people did not know this feature exists,
right.
right? It's something that I got to know with an through a mistake,
Mm.
through an error from my end when I was just browsing through Instagram. So when I started browsing through Instagram, when I double tapped on my account, the icon, it switched between two accounts.
Right.
If you double tap on that account, you can switch between two accounts
Yeah. And that's at the bottom
instantly.
right. Right, bottom right.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bottom right, the icon is just
right.
if you have two Instagram accounts, if you just double tap
Yeah,
on it, you can switch
yeah,
between two accounts.
yeah.
And most of the users don't know this.
Don't know this. Yeah, and it's not
The
advertised.
only yeah, this right. Most of people they tend to click the icon, go inside the menu, and then switch. It's
Yeah,
like 2-3 steps to switch between accounts. But
yeah,
there's another easy way. Just one tap or double
yeah,
tap, you can just switch between accounts.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try out this feature in one of my personal projects, right? And the question that was raised from one of my leads is that, do people know this? Will people use this?
Yeah.
Right? I don't think they will use this. I don't think even they will know that there is something like this.
Right.
Right? So people are afraid to test ideas, assuming that they might not use it. So what I believe is that we should not always stick to within the box. We should always try out thinking out of the box, try out something new, right? Like what so that people keep on engaged, and even they will also start learning from there onwards. Right? So that's what I do believe in. So it's that's how it is. You just should not always stick to these boundaries.
Right.
Designers should not always stick to the boundaries, right?
Right.
They should always try to explore out of the boundary. And that's that's where innovation comes.
That's where innovation comes, because you don't know, because the truth might like lie at the outside of the boundary. Because see, that's what my fundamental question has been everywhere. And whenever it comes to fields that are not hard sciences, I struggle. And even in hard sciences, I struggle to know that the things that you are assuming that to be true, that you're building upon, are they assumptions or are they actual truths? What is truth? How do you define truth? And then, because see, let's say we figured out the problem of navigating between two accounts. So this particular show is going to go on the channel called First Principles Pod, which is linked to my main Gmail account. So it's not a separate Gmail account. So I have to keep on YouTube. I can change accounts, right? So if I tap on that icon, and by the way, it took me a while to figure this out. I tap on that icon, I can just change the account just on YouTube. So not on Google accounts, but just on YouTube.
Now, let's say even on Gmail, if you have two accounts, right? If you have two Gmail accounts, you don't have to tap it. You just have to slide down.
You have to slide down. Yeah. True that. But what I'm saying is, this is established. This problem existed, and a solution did not exist. So a first draft existed, and then whichever draft got widespread acceptance, people have now learned, because of design, to change this. Doesn't necessarily mean that in the future this is going to be the most efficient way to navigate between accounts, right?
No.
So it will take somebody with serious balls to try out something new, something so against what people have already learned. It also might be a political thing. You might need so much love and political capital that when you do this kind of a thing, people excuse you. So like Apple got rid of the 3mm jack, they got rid of the floppy disk as well. People just accepted it. But if let's say
not only people, even other computers start accepting it.
Right, exactly. But let's say if you were a second or third rate leader, and you were not about building some niche, but you were about taking over, and you were just like, in a way, like, what I'm saying is, this could be done by Panasonic as well. This could be done by Samsung as well. It will not be seen as good, right? But now Apple did it, and the world changed.
True.
So you need to realize that how much of your political capital you have in the marketplace.
That's true. So I mean, you got to test ideas, man. You cannot just always stick to certain laws, theory. I know that these are important too, but when people start liking it, man, you will win. Right? You have already won it, right? So you got to test it out. That's what I believe. You should not put a dot for everything. Just test it out and see whether. But the best thing is, it's not people not only sticking. For example, the account switch, right? That's not only the flow that they can switch accounts, right? If you take Instagram for example, either you double tap, either you press art press,
right,
or either you go within the profile. There are three ways that you can switch accounts. So people are not stopped just only double tapping it. Right, they can either way switch between accounts. So, and based on data, we can identify whether people are double tapping it, or people are going through this route, and we can support saying that people are using this now.
Right,
get it?
Right.
That's the way to test ideas.
And you can also do this if you want to ensure that somebody doesn't use a feature, but you're legally required to give a feature. So, like I think TurboTax in the US was legally required to give a free option to file the returns for folks who have like similar, like easy income situations, and they made it very hard to get there. So I think this is true. I think please check, right? I think they had to sort of like say sorry and all that as well.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. So you're using this for nefarious ends, for not letting people get there. So, but I know that. So, you tend to sometimes, though, I think like old school websites, like just Craigslist, has its beauty of its own as well. It's just very simple. It's very nice.
I mean, that's a good example. It was Craigslist. I got to know sometime back, so long time back, that Craigslist, of course, it's very easy. It's plain white, number of links, blue links, right? So this is multi-billion-dollar company, right? Craigslist is.
Yeah.
So what they tend to do, they started investing a huge amount of money in redesigning the entire website.
Right.
This is what I got to know sometime back, okay? And then they came to know, right? People did not like the redesign.
Yeah, they preferred the old one.
They prefer the old one. They liked the blue links.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
they were able to even guess where the they were able to.
It was a retro fascination. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
If you compare. Okay, Craigslist kind of acts like a combination of like dating, so like Tinder, some hookups as well, and then also a lot of businesses. So Yelp, right, and then perhaps Just Dial. If people wanted the Yelp feel, they'll go to Yelp. They're going to you. You are still relevant because they want the retro feel. So yeah.
End of the day, if people like something, why do you change it?
I know, but it's so hard because I think are you spiritual, Irfan? And the reason I ask you is because how do you know an idea is good? What is your theory of where do ideas come to you? Is it through spiritual deliberation? Sorry, through logical deliberation, or they just come?
It's nothing about spiritual. It's about, I think, experience.
So you think with enough experience, anybody can come up with good designs? Okay.
With experience, and not on experience, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is inspiration. They should get inspired. If you look at my iPhone now, right? I have about 200 plus apps installed on my iPhone.
Oh, wow.
But I only use 5 of them. Right? The remaining 200 apps, I'm just using it to just see how people have made apps.
Yeah.
How people have designed this. Right? So it's just I'm getting inspired day in, day out of how people do things.
Yeah.
So that it will help me out in my project, right? On how to overcome certain problems.
Okay. Right? Well, how do you be careful of like if you want to be original as well and not copy something? So how do you get inspired and not copy?
Nothing. When it comes to design, there's nothing we do. Everything is copied, right? To say the truth, everything is copied because the reason is, why do you want to try something very new?
Yeah.
When people are used to something.
Right. Yeah. Right. True. What's the purpose of your design is good.
What's the purpose? Yeah. Why are you making a product? You're making a product to you a value to user as well as for you, right?
Right.
Why do you need to try out something very new that people don't know, right? And lose your money and use it, and even use a user. You use both of them.
Yes.
Right. So.
Okay, I mean, but like on the other hand, I heard a story where Steve Jobs was so obsessed with the box in which the first MacBook will be delivered that supply chains had to be delayed. He was like, no, the box has to be great. I think somewhere intuitions play a role. Like no matter, you know what, I have a theory. I think if you want to be a good entrepreneur or good founder creating value in any way, socially or money-wise or whatever, I think consider going to, at least in a graduate level, a design school, a good design school, which doesn't only teach like visual design, but like design, the culture of design, instead of going to a business school, because in business school, you learn how to manage the bureaucracy of a business, of an already existing business. It's good for that. If you want to learn that, sure. But to start a new business, to spot opportunities, to figure out where to put your efforts and energy in, to figure out and be in touch with your problem solving persona, I think design is a better, like if you want to go to school, that is one subject you think about, and philosophy.
True.
So
I mean, that's a good another example that you raised, that if Steve Jobs did not only think about the laptop, he was always thinking about the package design. Even the package design should look sleek and premium, right? And nowadays, when you see all these YouTube unboxing therapies, right, and everything, people tend to open this box and they like to cut the box in a nice clean way. Right, it's more presentable, right?
Yeah. I feel bad. I actually have a physical reaction of pain when I'm throwing away an Apple box. I feel pain.
Exactly. So exactly, and people keep those iPhone boxes, MacBook boxes as ornaments in their desk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They just keep it. Have you seen this? I mean, trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
That's how design is. That's how design package design is gone. That's how premium it is.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
I mean, it's got no other use. You will never ever see it again, but you feel bad throwing it away. Wow, that's how powerful it
exactly.
is.
That's how powerful it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
But some people, even some people, I got to know recently that if you give your laptop just without the packaging, if you just sell it, you have a price. But if you sell with a box, you have different price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Price,
right?
in India, that is true. I haven't witnessed that in the US as of now, but in
All
India,
right.
yes, there is a market for that. I also heard $100 notes, $100 bills
Yeah.
in the US. $100 bill is a $100 bill in the US. But in Africa, a lot of countries use US dollars as their currency because they don't have their own
Yeah.
currency or whatever. They don't peg. They have US dollars as a currency.
Yeah.
If you have an older banknote of $100, it's not gonna be worth $100. It's gonna be worth less. I'm like, okay, the people think things very differently, and it's very important to know all of these things. Yeah, because you're solving for a niche, so you should at least know your niche, right? Like what they are doing.
True.
And if you want to pivot and like go bigger later on, then you can think about doing that as well. Okay, so we are across the 1 hour mark, so I want to like wrap it up and just to get this closed down. A few rapid fire questions. Well, how do you distinguish between a UI UX designer and a UI UX engineer? You've used that term a few times today.
I mean, it's the same role. It's the same role and responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was in Sri Lanka, when I was working back then, I started my career as a UI UX engineer, right? And it's people, and I also design plus I code.
Right.
I create my own designs, and I also create. I also did code, right? And then there is. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same role. There's nothing to do. Some people say that UI UX engineer is a person who designs plus he codes. The UI UX design is his main job is only to design, right?
Yeah.
But it's completely different based on company's the company requirement.
So maybe I'll think of it this way then, and it might not be correct, but let's say somebody who is more somebody whose personality is heavy designer focused is the one who is more focused on human beings and solving problems and spotting problems and all of these things. And somebody who is, I guess, let's say personality is more things focused and physics focused or like actual nature focused, and they are interested in transformation, not just studying it. They'll be more like engineers. Both engineers and designers are trying to transform things, rearrange atoms, and have solutions. But like one is focused more on human beings and the other more on things. I guess that's the element. Okay. I'm actually quite proud that I came up with the definition. Okay, so
but nowadays there's a new role emerging called product designer, right? The role I'm playing now, right? Back then there was no product designers.
Yeah,
they call everyone as UI UX designers or either UI designer, either UX designer, or UI UX engineer, UX engineer. But what I see is that everyone is doing the same role. The duties are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And now there's a new role that's emerging is called product designer,
right?
So they call him the unicorn, right?
Unicorn.
So unicorn of everything. So he's a UX copywriter. He should know how to copyright, and he's a UX researcher. He should know about how to research things when it comes to UX, and he has some technical expertise on how things work in digital, right? In web and app, right? And he knows everything in every domain, skill in every domains, right? So that's a product designer. It's a unicorn, they say these days.
Okay, and it could also be like it could be a gimmick to save money as well, rather than because in the expectation,
might be.
It could be that, but it doesn't always have to be that cynical, because sometimes what happens is, like, let's say 200 years ago, being a scribe was a job. Like, people used to come to you, they did not know how to read or write, but they understood a language, so they used to give you a letter, they used to read it for them, right? Now, reading is still a skill, but you can't just make money just by reading. So you need to have other skills as well. So I guess that's why. And I guess smaller companies, and also with tools like Figma and all, it's fine to have.
Yeah, okay, that's true. I mean, but this is based on certain cultures. If you see in Sri Lanka or maybe in India, the designer role is very low. underestimated in this kind of,
It's a ad designer,
right?
whatever.
It's just, and if you just go to this Fiverr or Upwork, and you can just see freelance jobs that just budgeted to a list, right? And
They're
they just
basically
think
just
that,
like widget pushers. I mean, I don't think the original thought is
if
coming in.
they just think that these guys are like the pixel pushers who just
Pixel pushers. Right.
who just create designs, interfaces,
Yeah.
just add colors, just download templates and just wrap things up and just give. So that's the understanding that this kind of many nations, right? Maybe from India and Sri Lanka, I do think that they have this kind of culture, right? But the moment when I came to Dubai, the value that they put on designers is huge. As a country, these guys value creativity.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And not only on in the Middle East, right? Not only on UAE, mainly I think even US, the same thing. They value designers a lot in the Western countries. In other Europe, they all value designers very much because they know what creativity can do.
Right. True that.
That's another.
This is an age-old.
Sadly, that's a story. That's what to do.
But it's an age-old fight, like between the arts and the crafts, right? So, like there are times in history where the artisan and the craftsman is the same person, and they are just involved in just doing your building or laying your bricks or whatever. They have a skill, and then after a while, they're like, okay, now those are low crafts. Anybody can do them. I'm an artist. And then you combine them again, and then you separate them again. I think it's a yo-yo, constant yo-yo. It'll keep happening. I mean,
what I see is it's the mindset. What I see in there is that in Sri Lanka and India, I think they are always in the money-making mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so
that's the point. That's the point.
That's a point.
Right?
That's a point. Yeah. But when it comes to places like the Western countries and Europe and even in the Middle East, right? They need to give something good to the users.
They have to because because they're at that stage of the evolution.
That stage of the thing, yes, exactly. So and they spend a lot on creativity, right? So I realized the value of this role when I moved. To say the truth, right? The amount of value that this guy's designer can play, right? And the growth that you can have, right? When I moved from Sri Lanka to the Middle East, right? So sadly that's a story, unfortunately.
So do you think a designer in this capacity, the way you currently designed it, so digital product designer, so if somebody says they're a UX UI designer, and if somebody says they're a digital product designer, what do I take away from that? So the digital product designer will know UX UI and they'll know some more things. Or what are those some more things?
So you will also have an understanding of the business sides of it.
Sides of it. That is very important.
That's very important. Of course. Right. The management side of it, you'll have an understanding about that. When it comes to UX designer, right, his main focus is all about the users, right? Just focusing about their own pinpoints, their own needs and wants, right, and what they like and what they don't like. That's where his role will be mostly. But a product designer is just it's a completely bigger role, right? It's not about only the users. You should always think about the business too, right?
That's the only difference. That's the only addition.
That's one thing. Even the strategic planning and all the strategize things, right, and the technical aspects of it, how the backend works. I mean, what can be done, because on web and mobile there is a boundary that you can design for, right? You cannot go out of the boundary. So if you do not know the boundary, right, you're like a graphic designer who creates posters, right? The difference between a graphic designer and a digital designer is that you know your boundaries that you're designing for the web and the app, because you know some kind of technicalities that can be done and cannot be done, right? And within that boundary you should design, right? So most of the designs that you go to Dribble, right? For example, if you go to Dribble, Beyond, most of the sites you see, it's nice. All the designs that they put there is nice, but not everything can be implementable.
Okay. Yeah, true. I mean, and of course, I think I was given the suggestion by some YouTuber. I don't know who did that, but they were like, when you're writing, you separate your writing module with your editing module. So when you're writing, even if it's crap, let it come out. Because if you start judging yourself, then it's not going to come out. It needs a non-judgmental environment in order to come out. But once it's out, then you judge it harshly, and then only present whatever is there. So I think that is important because okay. So quick yes or no questions. Does somebody need to draw well in order to become a digital product designer?
I mean, you should. I mean, I am coming from artistic background. I did draw. I did canvas painting. Yeah.
Okay.
I did canvas painting.
But
yeah.
So, but is that a prereq?
I would say, you should add the kind of creativity side of it. Like you should come from that background too.
What if you're a very good event organizer? So you solve problems, you design where things should be, but you can't draw. You know where the tailor should be, where the stall should be for you're having a wedding.
But if you're not creative enough, right, you will not know how to present that stall very
present that stall. Okay.
you know the placement. Right. You know the placement. That's perfect.
Right.
But you should make it eye-catching to the users, right?
Eye-catching. So invest in, even if you don't want to be like a New Yorker doodle maker, invest in some classes to like learn how to draw.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. Learn how to draw. What else will you suggest? So learn how to code. Will that be
I would say I've been keeping on telling all my juniors about this, that who are coming from a domain, from graphic design domain. They come from graphic design and they come to product design. Right. So I've seen people like that coming to, which without technical expertise. Right. So for them, I would always encourage them at least to learn. I don't want you to code. This is going to be a huge time for you, right?
Yeah. But how much should they learn? What is good enough coding?
At least learn the boundaries that can be done, right? Or at least start getting inspired, or at least best thing would be to inspire the websites that are already online. You can see how things are placed. Right. At least from that you can understand, okay, they are doing this, why can't I do this? You have some kind of a backup to tell the developer, okay, you are saying that you can implement this, but I can show you an example that this guy is implemented on the website. So you can back up. Because sometimes the developers do tend to say no for certain of your designs. That this is not implementable, assuming that we do not know technical. Right? Since I'm coming from a technical background, I know the limitations and I can clearly tell him that no, this is impossible, and I also can write the code for you for this, right? So then he has to do it. But a person who's coming from that background, the only way that he can support this is with an example that is already implemented.
Yeah. True that. Yeah, this is like, it's a classic case of trying to fool somebody. You're trying to build a product. It will involve multiple functionalities. Right. So you build a cross-functioning team, and if there is no trust, this kind of fuckery is going to keep happening. Right. So this has to be stopped. It helps if somebody is kind of like a dual expert or a multiple expert in all the fields that are required there, so they can check the bullshit, or a system can be made where the bullshit can be checked at the top level. He's saying this can't be done because it's not implementable, and this person knows both, and he's like, why can't this be done? I was very good at catching this shit, even though
there was a point when I was working on a project, right? Since I'm coming from a technical background, I knew certain things, right? This was an argument that I had between the development and the design, right? So both of them, we all work for the common goal, right? To make the app work fine. So he is concerned about his performance from the back end. He's concerned about that, right? His primary concern is about, my concern is about the visual and the things that the users are going to face. So he was saying, this is an example, right? Let's not use this icon library, icons of the application, right? Let's not use, he was proposing me, let's not use this icon library, right? Because if you're going to use the icons that you propose, right, we will have to scale our database, or the size of the application will increase.
Okay. Right? Okay. All right.
So from his perspective, I agree what he was trying to say. I'm not saying no. Right? The size of the application might increase in size because of we are putting custom icons to the application.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He proposed me a way to optimize this by choosing an existing library that is online and giving me those icons to use these icons. Don't use your custom icons, use these icons. So now when I look at those icons, it looks more outdated. Right? So I told him, now I'm not going to compromise anything on the visual aesthetics. Right? I know from your angle that you're trying to do some performance kind of a thing, that you don't want to increase the size, but this is what I want.
Yeah.
And let's build this.
Okay.
Because when I incorporate the icons that he gave into my designs, the entire experience would have spoiled. Right? So that's another challenge that we're facing. So there are certain places where we got to stand up.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're going to not wait for everything that the developer is saying, your innovation or whatever artifact that you create is going to get burst. Right.
So it's just a good idea for anybody, just if they can learn enough about your partners and your clients and your customers,
yes,
so that they don't take you for a ride. Learn enough about them so that you suspect if something is fishy or not. At least
you got to know those things, and you got to stand. You got to stand for those things up.
Yeah.
And you got to fight for your design. You got to fight for your design.
You have to fight for your design. Learn to fight for your work. Well.
Yeah, you got to read people as well. You got to fight for your work, right? And because if you start compromising there, I would have just imagined it would have spoiled the entire experience.
Yeah. True that.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
so you should know where to stand and where not to stand. That's another skill that you should learn.
Yeah. So just to bring it all together, like the last question, then in the software development life cycle, I don't even know if they call it that, or maybe it's just a product development life cycle now for digital products based on software. So first comes design, then comes front end, then comes the back end, and then comes the database, which is also kind of the back end. So does design inform the front end that informs the back end, or is it the other way around?
So it's all about design.
It's all about design.
It's all design. Yeah.
So you guys are the bosses.
We are. I mean, of course. So we are PMs, product managers.
You are the basically the form factor on which other people will need to start.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So whenever an idea that comes from the management or some kind of thing that they want to test it out, or some kind of improvement or some kind of idea, right? Or some kind of business change, a logic change, we are the ones who starts brainstorming, right? And we will start thinking all angles, creating different concepts, right? What works and what not works, right? And we do multiple iterations on the designs. It will take about 1 month to almost even a year. Certain features, the scale of it, just to design, just to design, right? To get finalized, right? Yeah. And then once everything is finalized, that's where we start communicating the logic and the designs to the front end and the back end team.
Okay.
And then they will start writing logics and their APIs and everything based on the design that we provided.
Right. So, and you don't need to be an engineer / programmer for doing this, because you ultimately.
I would say that I'm not saying it's a must that you should have this expertise, but
it's good. Somebody on your team
it's good to have.
Expertise.
It's good to have.
So somebody on the brainstorming team should be technical, of course, right? I mean, they have to architect the solution as well. It's not just the user experience.
Because you can't just build something. You can't just take 1 year of your time and build something that is not. You cannot build, right?
Pretty much, yeah. So I can design the perfect interface for how like a self-replicator machine on Star Trek works, which solves all my particular problems. But if the technology doesn't exist, like I'm out of luck.
You can implement that. So it's good. It's good for your portfolio that you're not Ripple, but it's not a working product, right? So I mean,
work with a senior technical person as well, so that if you're not that, so that if you're doing the brainstorming, they can correct you.
The solution for that would be for a person who is not too much technical savvy, right? To start with speaking to a developer and creating wireframes.
Right.
So understanding what can be built, just quickly drafts of certain things.
Right.
That's the way to start. A person who has expertise in technicalities, they do not allocate wireframes. They can straight away jump into the high-fidelity designs. I mean,
they jump straight away to high-fidelity designs. Is that a good thing though? Because
trust me, because we have the design systems ready. We have all the components of our application. When it comes to product, we know the button, we know how the button looks, we know everything. So all components are already created. It's just that we got to put everything into one and create the solution for that given problem. And we do not need a wireframe, because nowadays we have tools like Figma, which is ultra fast. which is
Ah.
which is nice, which is very fast. Not like then. It's not like the 5 years back, right? Figma has made things much life easier, where we can create things very fast and create prototypes instantly,
So this is
right, on the
basically
go.
the tool of choice for you guys,
Yeah,
Figma.
I would say, yeah, Figma is one of the tool of choice these days,
Not
and
more than
it has it
Adobe as well.
has
I think Adobe bought it
it has
or
improved.
AWS.
It has improved very well. I have at
Mm.
first I used Adobe XD. I think
Mm.
we both use Adobe XD when we were working for Social 27, right?
Yeah.
And though during those times, Figma was there,
Mm.
but trust me, Figma has gone very far. And
Yeah.
I think XD has failed. Although it's surviving, I think it's failed.
I
Figma has
think
done a great
Adobe.
job.
I think Adobe bought Figma, so it's safe. I think.
No,
I
I
think that's what
think
happened.
I think they bought it, and then it was after some time they gave up the contract for some reason.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I heard
okay.
about that too. Yeah,
Maybe Adobe wants to focus. Maybe Adobe doesn't want to get into the market of UX and
yeah,
UI.
might
Maybe
be.
he's want to focus on graphic design and other things like that. Like
Yeah,
it's a
might
good thing.
be.
Adobe does that well.
Adobe, the other tools like Photoshop, Illustrator is working very fine on them there.
Right.
But Figma is doing very good when it comes to the domain of us, right?
Right.
The UI
Right.
UX domain, product design
Yes.
domain. It has
Right.
all the necessary tools in one place,
Right.
right? That helps us create things very instantly,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not saying that we should not use pencil and papers. That's always a go-to tool for us, always, right? It should always be there, right? Not to avoid that at all. But the tool like Figma has changed completely. And to mention AI, right? Like AI, like ChatGPT, right? Has also served us a lot of things, right? When it comes, I mean, people think that okay, this can replace our jobs. No.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
I
a
mean,
it's not a tool that can replace a job. It's a
yeah,
tool that will help you make
yeah,
your job more efficient, right?
yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm gonna
also
say
it has,
this. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and also it has also helped designers in terms of UX copywriting.
Right.
You don't have to rely on a copywriter nowadays.
Right.
ChatGPT does it very well for us,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I
I
mean,
guess that explains the evolution from just UX UI design to a digital product designer, because all of these things have you've gotten help. The pixel pushers have become non-sentient
yeah,
robots now, so it's fine. And you have to be more strategic. I always say this to people. Human wants are almost infinite. Like if once you have
mm,
something, you want something else, or you want more of that. So when you say that AI is going to take away your jobs, ultimately, what are jobs? Jobs are a way to work for a capitalist who has figured out a problem and is providing a solution for it, and that's why you have a job, right?
yeah,
That happens because there is a want, and if they have an ability to pay, there is a demand, and then they are providing the supply. Since wants are infinite, supply is going to be, you'll never lose. I mean, if yes, it's going to be, you will not need to work as much. You might have to work like 1 month in 10 years, but if you
yeah,
want to work, you can keep working,
yeah. You
because
can be working, yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you're happy with, let's say, currently, let's say, where your Western middle class family lives, and you want to work just 1 month, and just
yeah.
keep
True. It
playing and
depends. I
doing
mean,
other things,
it's up to
do
you.
that. Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah,
I mean, and by the way, just because you're not working doesn't mean you're not involved. You still might be involved. It's just that you're not engaged in something immediately productive,
yeah.
but you
Like
might be doing something
you
long
might be
term.
doing a freelance thing,
You
consulting
might
kind
be
of
doing
thing.
research work. You might be
Yeah,
doing
something like
you might
that. Just
yeah. So that is something which is, I want to say, like, something I always mention this, because people just take this, they have this weird kind of like cult of
it's
productivity.
all about the way people like to live, right?
Mm,
And for
mm.
how long are they going to live, and how are the lifestyles going to be? It's all about the
Yeah.
lifestyle. So
Yeah.
everyone's lifestyle is different, right? And based on
True.
that, they got to make their own decisions, right? So
True. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean, that is a perfect place to end it. So,
nice.
Irfan, do you have any parting thoughts for the audience about this topic in general, or anything?
uh, I mean, I would like to say that design is a good field, right? It's our parents who tend to tell that okay, you got to do this job like accountant, be a doctor, be a lawyer, or go for a government job, right? So these jobs are very stable for you, and this is a
Yeah.
good reputed job in our culture and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Man, no, design is one of the wonderful fields, right?
Mm, mm,
And you should have the passion towards it,
mm.
right? And if you don't have the passion towards design, it's not the job for you, right? And down the line, it will serve you much better, because everything can be replaced in this world, but creativity cannot be replaced.
Mm.
right? Creativity is one of the things that cannot be replaced. So don't take product design job as one of the low jobs. It's a nice job. It's grooming now. It has huge growth, and most of people countries like Middle East and Western countries, they like people like this. They like designers. They like creative people, right?
Strategic
So they
people
are
as well.
very strategic people, right? So if you guys like, if you guys are into creativity, and if you guys if you're into passion of design, I will always like you guys to stick into that. Don't just leave it, man. Right? I know that you might have peer pressure, your parents' pressure, and everything, right? So I would like to just tell your parents and everyone, just don't pressure children, kids, and everyone to just choose a role that you like.
Yeah.
Just give them the opportunity to choose a role that they like to work on.
Yeah.
So they will always like to wake up in the morning, right, and go to work because they like to do something that they love doing, right?
Yeah.
So,
And parents who are worried about will you have work to go and love doing your work. If you are invested in solving other people's problems in a way that it makes people's lives good, the capitalist system rewards you with stability, wealth, whatever. So let's at least believe that, even if that's not entirely true everywhere. Perfect. All right, Irfan, that is great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your more than enough time.
No worries, man.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you soon.